Welcome back to 100 Days Answer Writing Challenge. In the last class, I was explaining about how to write an effective introduction for relatively direct, straightforward questions. So, in today's class, we will be discussing how to write an effective introduction for little challenging questions. That means the yesterday's session, the previous session, in the question, the keyword was directly mentioned. The demand was also relatively, it was directly mentioned in the question. So for such questions, we were finding out that keyword, we were finding out the demand, and with the help of context, we were linking and we were writing the introduction. But in today's class, we are going to pick little challenging questions. What is challenging in these questions? These questions where the keywords will not be clearly available. Rather, you will have key concepts and you will have more than one key concept or keyword. So these more than one key concepts that has to be linked by understanding the demand. Even demand will not be explicitly mentioned. Neither the keyword nor the demand will be explicitly mentioned. So you have to find out the both and you have to link both the keywords with the demand of the question with the help of a backdrop, that is nothing but context. That is what we are going to do. So we have decided, we have divided the questions into category 1 and category 2. Category 1 questions is what we discussed in the last session. Now we will focus on category 2. So look at this question. The West is fostering India as an alternative to reduce the dependence on China's supply chain and as a strategy to counter China's political and economic dominance. Explain the statement with the examples. Such type of questions, on first reading, we will not understand it clearly. So read it twice or thrice and find out the exact message in this question. So I will try to simplify this question. West, they want to reduce the dependence on China. West, they want to reduce the dependence on China, right? And West is considering India could be a better alternative. That's all. This is the question. West wants to reduce the dependence on China and West considers India could be a potential alternative. You have to explain this with examples. This is the question. So two concepts. So we found two concepts. Now these two concepts has to be linked. That is what is the demand. You link and explain the statement of the examples. So we have to link. To link, let me take the help of context. Context is nothing but backdrop. In the previous question also, I think in Tamil channel or English channel, I saw a comment regarding context. Sir, context means fact. No, context means backdrop. That is why West is trying to reduce the dependence on China. Why? Why West is trying to reduce the dependence on China? Because particularly post-pandemic, we are able to notice there's a supply chain disruption caused by China. And China's assertiveness on the geopolitics and China's issues with USA, US-China trade war, we all know. So there are issues. So West, they are finding issues with China. That is the backdrop. That is the context. Okay, now why? Because of these issues. So because of these issues, they are considering India. Now the next backdrop comes, why India? There are many countries. Why they are choosing India? Because India, it's a reliable democratic partner. We have good skilled workforce. We are strategically located in the Indo-Pacific region. So there are some advantages. There are some issues with China. There are some advantages with India. Because of this reason, the West considers India could be a potential alternative. Right? So basically, we are trying to explain the question in the introduction in a proper structure, finding out the key concept, linking it with the demand with the help of context. Okay, so this is what is introduction. Now let me put it in the form of wordings. A model intro I will share. Look, post pandemic supply chain vulnerabilities US-China trade tension, China's assertive geopolitics have accelerated China plus one strategy. That means the West China plus one strategy refers to this, reducing the dependence on China and think of another partners. We can diversify the partner, think of another partner. India could be the plus one, prompting Western countries to diversify their supply chains. So here we are explaining why the West is thinking of an alternative. India, with skilled workforce, democratic institutions, strategic Indo-Pacific location, has emerged as a key alternative. Now we are explaining how India is becoming a key alternative. So in the first part, we are explaining how why West wants to reduce the dependence on China. The second part, we are explaining why India can be a reliable alternative, and by explaining these two key concepts, we are linking it to the demand of the question. Then you can put subheading, you can write with the examples. Okay, so basically the introduction is explaining the question in a structured way. That's all. We will go to the next question. You will find it easy to crack this style. Look at the second question. The rights of movement and residence throughout the territory of India are freely available to the Indian citizens, but these rights are not absolute. So what are the two key concepts here? One side, the question talks about rights. Another side, the question talks about restrictions. So we have two heroes here. One side we have rights, one side we have restrictions. Rights of movement and residence throughout the territory of India are freely available to Indian citizens. The first part is rights, but these rights are not absolute, that is restriction. Right, now we have to link it. Here where I am trying to bring the help of context. Now one side we have rights, one side we have restrictions. Why both are there? If you think why, you will get the context. Because we need to have a balance. We need to have a balance between an individual's liberty as well as social interest. Right? Constitution is guaranteeing rights. The Constitution is giving restrictions. We need to link this. How to link? Find out the context. Why both are given? Why both are there? Rights are there, restrictions are there. Why both are there? Because we need to have a balance towards individual liberty and social interest. Now this becomes our introduction. I'll give you a model intro. See, Article 19 Clause 1 Clause D and Article 19 Clause 1 Clause E of Indian Constitution guarantees citizens the right to move freely and reside throughout the India. However, so this part is explaining the rights. However, both rights are subject to reasonable restrictions under Article 19 Clause 5 to balance individual liberty with social interest. Right? Both rights are subject to reasonable restrictions to balance the individual liberty and social interest. So this way we are linking both, and the question is simply to comment. Right? So you link both, that becomes the demand. The context is nothing but to balance the individual liberty and the social interest. Okay, so from here you can put subheadings, write the content. Another question for your reference. Achieving sustainable growth with emphasis on environmental protection could come into conflict with poor people's need in a country like India. Comment. So, two things are there. One is sustainable growth. See, when growth has to be sustainable, that will come with environmental protection. Without protecting the environment, you cannot go for sustainable growth. So, sustainable growth comes with environmental protection. Now, this sustainable growth that will come in conflict with people's need in country like India. So, two aspects. People's need in India, sustainable growth with environmental protection. This is the two key concepts. Now, you have to link both. See, if you find out why, how or why they are linked, you will get the context and you will get the linkage also. So what happens if you take a country like India? India is a developing country. In a developing country like India, you will have a lot of inequality. You will see a lot of poor people, poverty, hunger, everything, whatever you want you put. So in a developing country like India, there will be the process of development, you will see a lot of people still suffering because of poverty, hunger, they are very poor. So what happens, they directly depend on the natural resources for their livelihood. So when they directly depend on natural resources for livelihood, the natural resources, that is nothing but the environment, will be exploited. When the environment is exploited, you will have a conflict. Now you are explaining it, right? Sustainable growth comes with environmental protection. That is coming in conflict with people's need in India. How it is coming up with conflict, that is what is the context. When you explain that, automatically the both are getting linked. Because in a developing country like India, you will see a lot of people who are poor, suffering from hunger. They derive livelihood from natural resources. So in the name of sustainable growth, if you are going to put a lot of restrictions on the exploitation of natural resources, then automatically this objective and this objective will be coming in conflict. This is what we are going to explain in the introduction. Sustainable development seeks to balance economic growth, social equity and environmental protection. However, in a developing country like India, where a significant population depends directly on natural resources for livelihood, stringent environmental measures can sometimes impose disproportionate burdens on vulnerable population. So, these kind of questions, read it more than once, twice or thrice you read. Make the question simple, understand the question in a simple language. Then find out the key concepts. You will have mostly 2 key concepts, sometimes 3 also will come, but mostly 2 key concepts. Now, you try to find out the linkage. How to link these two? To link, because linking these two becomes the demand. Once you link these two, to link that, you just ask a question, why, how. When you ask a question, you will get the context. With the help of context, you bring all the key concepts and demand together, intro is done. Okay, see, these are just model intros. Okay, you can have your own introduction, your own style, you can have your own screenplay basically. Okay, so I hope you got clarity on how to understand the question, how to arrive at an introduction, because intro is very important. As I said in the last class, intro will give the first impression. Intro will convey to the evaluator that you have understood the demand of the question well. So please practice, spend some time in this introduction. Introduction and conclusion is the most important aspect of any mains answer. Introduction will give you the first impression. Conclusion will give the last impression. Because only after reading conclusion, the evaluator is going to give marks. And the center content part, most of them will have points, the central content part. And if you are designing your intro properly, the structure also will fall in place. Accordingly, you can write conclusion. If your intro is getting deviated, the structure also will be getting affected. So, spend some time, practice. I will give you a set of assignment questions. Please practice introduction for these assignment questions. Some students have submitted assignment questions. Please don't do that. Okay, we are going to start the paper evaluation only from next week. The next week, I will be giving you proper questions. I will explain the PYQ. Now, based on that, you are going to write and submit. Only from next week, evaluation will start. Now, this is warm-up. This week is warm-up. I am helping you how to write intro, how to write conclusion. Then we can go for the actual answer writing program. Okay, fine. I will see you tomorrow with how to write effective conclusion. See you there. Till then, bye. Take care from Guna Mathivanan.